Time to check in with CJAD legal contributor Chris Dimakos. Chris, today's story, and I know this got huge play in the U.S., but I would imagine this is getting huge play just as far as the justice system is concerned. You had a woman, my understanding, first time ever, a mother in Michigan, convicted of involuntary manslaughter because her son ended up shooting 4 classmates in a school shooting. So first of a kind, I believe, as I said, ever. But what are the ramifications of this?
Right, and it's so important. We've seen times where parents of kids who commit crimes were sued civilly, but we actually had criminal accusations that were successful. She was convicted for a criminal offense based on the way and she handled her son's behavior, the fact that she purchased him a gun, and the fact that she should have known, a reasonable parent should have known that was a very dangerous thing to do. So in that sense, there's a whole new dynamic now where prosecutors and the justice system is looking not only at the minor who commits the crime, but what were the circumstances around that? Where was this minor living? What was he subjected to? And what kind of parenting was there? And if there is enough evidence to suggest that they can contribute or they were contributors to what took place, well, they might face criminal accusations themselves. And yes, you're right. This is a first of its kind. But I can tell you, it's not the last. We're seeing more and more now. And it's not just parents. It's anyone who has parental authority. It could be schools. It could be teachers. Anytime you have someone who is entrusted with parental authority, that's not the parents, they can find themselves on the hook as being liable, either civilly or criminally. And that's the direction that the courts are going, and judges are starting to recognize that.
I find it absolutely fascinating, like holding parents accountable, or as you said, guardians, whatever it might be, parental authorities, for not doing their job. And I think the very concept of someone going to jail and being charged with a crime for this, I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. But I mean, ultimately, is the hope here that this will make parents do a better job ultimately because they could be held criminally responsible?
Right. So if you put yourself in the position of authorities and the police force, the justice system, and they have these situations, like let's take school shootings, for example, and it's a common theme when they start unraveling and unpeeling the layers of what happened here and how it came to this, they notice that, hey, a lot of stuff is happening at home. A lot of stuff's happening at home, and most often the parents often say, well, you know what, little Timmy was in his room. We didn't pay much attention to him, and yes, he wanted a gun, but we didn't really think it was such a big deal. And a lot of times, the parents in those situations bear some culpability. Mm-hmm. So what's happening now is they're saying, okay, yes, we have to look for signs at school, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on at home that if parents start understanding that they can find themselves criminally responsible here if they don't take action, if they don't say, hey, 1 second here, my son reportedly drew a picture where he was shooting his classmates in school, and now he's asking for a gun. Maybe I shouldn't buy a gun because I can get myself in trouble as well. They may not want to, concern themselves with their kids, but at the same time, they can find themselves facing charges. So it's just a question of the law enforcement, and the justice system trying to get to the root causes and figuring out, listen, it's not just at school. It's not only the school that can stop these kids from doing this. Sometimes we have to look at the home, and the home, there's a lot going on there, and parents have to start being a lot more proactive when it comes to kids who are showing signs that they're going through tough times.
Yeah, I will point out from what I saw in this case, so there were, obviously the prosecution alleged and the jury agreed, there were warning signs here, right? Yeah. In terms of the fact the school guidance counselor had seen some unusual behavior. So you're hearing the parents, and by the way, we should mention, this is just one parent, the mother, but the husband is going on trial as well separately. So there were warning signs here, Chris. The question then becomes, okay, someone told you there might be something up with your child. Then if you do nothing, and that wasn't the only warning sign, it seems to me you become a whole lot more liable at that stage.
Right, and the legal test, Aaron, you're right, you hit the nail right on the head. The legal test is, what would a reasonable parent do in that situation? School calls you, they say, your son drew a picture of him shooting his classmates with blood. He says that when we talk to him, he says that he's hearing voices, he has all these issues, mental issues, and then right after that meeting, he asks for a gun, and you purchase a gun for him. That's not what a reasonable parent would do.
No.
They failed that legal test, and that's why there's a conviction there. But the same thing goes for schools. It was a little bit different with the other story we talked about, where there was a girl who took her life because she was beaten in school, and that was posted to social media. But the parents are saying, listen, we have told the school time and time again that there's an issue there, and they failed to stop it. So what the courts are going to do here is they're going to look at what would a reasonable school board do in that situation when they were faced with the same circumstances and the same warnings. What would a reasonable school board do in that situation? You can't be perfect. You cannot stop all incidents from taking place. But a reasonable a school board, if they act a certain way and you don't meet that threshold, that legal test, that's when you can be facing problems as well. So we're starting to see, like Natasha pointed out, we're starting to see them branch out and say, hey, let's take a look globally of what are the circumstances surrounding this tragedy. And they're going to start looking at all the different players that are involved. And did everyone meet their burden in terms of trying to do the best to prevent these things from happening?
Can I also just ask about the role of social media? Because in that particular case, that played a huge role, right? The video of her getting beaten up was posted, and that led to her feeling terrible and taking her own life.
Right, and that's what the defense is going to be saying. If you're representing the school board, you're going to say, listen, it's not that because she got hit or beaten in a hallway that she took her life. She took her life because it was posted to social media. That's not our fault. Maybe we can be blamed for the fact that there was a fight in the hallway that we didn't stop it, but that's not why she took her life. And now the parents are saying, no, that's not why she took her life. She took her life because of this cumulative months and months of bullying. So, to answer your question, yes, it's going to play a major role. Probably going to be used by the school board to say it was the reason why she took her life from the embarrassment that came with the social media. So we shouldn't bear that responsibility. But yeah, absolutely right. It's going to be a focal point in the trial.
So there's a lot of responsibility, blame, call it whatever you want here, to spread around the school, social media, the parents. I wonder, Chris, if at some point, you brought up school boards, if a school board warns a parent and the parent takes action, but then what ultimately happens, have we had school boards, have we had rulings against them in cases like this where clearly there was fault there and them not having followed through?
We've had rulings on a civil front where school boards have been liable for civil damages because they failed to prevent bullying from taking place. But understand this, people don't understand when one employee is harassing another employee, it's the employer that's liable. It's not, they don't sue each other. The employer that's getting bullied can sue the employer. If two tenants are having issues and a tenant is bullying another tenant, it's the landlord that has a responsibility to stop that from happening. So everyone has to understand when you're talking about a school board, when you drop your kid off and they cross over to that fence and they walk into the school walls, well, there's a transfer of parental authority. Now it's a school that's responsible for your kid. And if another kid is bullying, your kid, well, the school has a responsibility to resolve that, not the other kid's parents, and it's not the parents from the outside of the fence trying to resolve it. It's the school board that has to resolve it.
All right. And we will leave it at that. Chris, thank you so much. Appreciate it.